What the hell? What are you doing here? Is this another J Station situation? I hate 3 a.m. challenges. Well, I guess since you're already here, care to join my club? My Sleepover Club? Growing up, I didn't have many friends, so this show allowed me to escape that and observe a friend group that seemed to overcome any adversities and support each other, no matter their differences. And they had sleepovers. That was the coolest thing ever. The Sleepover Club, or SOC, is an Australian television series that ran from the 12th of November 2003 to the 21st of March 2008. It ran for 2 seasons with 52 total episodes. I loved this show as a child. I was so obsessed with it, in fact, that I tried to form my own sleepover club with little to no success. The only 2 friends I had back then weren't as into the idea of having weekly sleepovers as I was, probably because they didn't watch the show as religiously as I did. And to be completely honest, we were never even that close anyway. We hung out at school, but that's it. Since this show is so near and dear to my heart, I thought it would be a fun idea to make a video about it. Just so you're aware, I'm only going to be talking about season 1 because that is the one I watched the most as a child, and I didn't really care for the characters in season 2. Let's start off with the characters. Rosie is the new girl. She moved to Australia from England and wants to become a writer and journalist like her father. She's the newest member of the SOC and she's very smart, but she can come off a bit brash. Her mother died and she lives with her father David and her brother Will. Rosie was actually my favorite character. I'm sure it's partially because in the beginning she's taking on the role of the outsider, having to have everything about the SOC explained to her so that we, the viewers, can relate to her. But I also wanted to be a writer when I was a kid, so that kind of hit home for me. Plus, I'm a sucker for the new girl trope. Frankie is the leader of the Sleepover Club. At first, Frankie takes an immediate disliking to Rosie, getting jealous because the other girls get along great with her and because she wants the SOC to stay just the way it is. Frankie is loyal to the club, adventurous, determined, but also quite bossy. She's an only child who lives with her parents and she wants a sibling. Fliss, oh boy. As a child, I really disliked her. Thinking back on it, I'm pretty sure it was internalized misogyny, because she's into very traditionally feminine things, and I wanted to be unique and not like the other girls. Ew. I hate pink. But to be fair, she can also be a bit annoying, so it wasn't just that. Fliss is a fashionista, and she likes taking care of her appearance in a way that almost borders on obsession. She's bubbly and can come across as a little ditzy and shallow. Fliss's parents are divorced and she no longer sees her father. Kenny is sporty spice. Sorry. She's Chinese-Australian and a huge fan of Manchester United. She takes part in all sorts of physical activities, from soccer to athletics. Kenny is incredibly loyal and always there for her friends. She lives with her sister, whom she doesn't get along well with, and her mother, father, and grandmother. Linz, like Rosie, is also from England. She's the horse girl of the group. Linz is generally nice and tries her best to fit in because she struggles with low self-esteem. She has a fraternal twin brother, Michael, who is one of the M&Ms, and she also has an older brother, Tom. Speaking of the M&Ms, like any self-respecting children's programming in the early 2000s, the SOC had to have a rivalry between boys and girls. The rival boy group is called the M&Ms, consisting of Matthew, Markle, and Michael. You can see where they got the name from. They are always messing with the girls, pranking them, and trying to sabotage their plans, although it's never really explained why, other than that they enjoy causing them trouble. Every episode of the Sleepover Club is presented by a different member. The episode always begin and end with one of the girls narrating, initially leading into and then tying up the plot of the episode. This is really clever. I'm sure different viewers have different favorite characters, just like I did when I watched the show. So it makes sense that the members take turns being in the center of the plot. That may seem obvious, but I have seen shows where there is an ensemble cast, but the writers are clearly favoring one character, and it always drives me insane. Episode 1 is called Perfect Match. The episode starts with Frankie being grounded by her mother. While she's escaping her room through her window, she starts explaining how she got into the situation. Rosie, the new girl in school, gets picked on by the M&Ms during swimming lessons. In retaliation, she steals their clothes, so they have to come out of the showers holding swimming boats. The PE teacher, Mr. Bilton, although they call him Mr. Biceps, and I think that's hilarious, so I'm going to call him that as well, notices Rosie holding the boys' clothes and sees the rest of the SOC snickering, and assumes that they all had something to do with this and gives them detention. During detention, Frankie overhears their homeroom teacher, Miss Nichols, breaking up with her boyfriend over the phone, and decides she wants to play matchmaker so that Miss Nichols will be in a better mood and less strict. She and the rest of the SOC meet up and try to hatch a plan to get Miss Nichols and Mr. Biceps to go on a date. They write an anonymous love letter to Mr. Biceps and tell him to come to the grocery store where Miss Nichols usually shops at. But the M&Ms see the girls placing the letter in Mr. Biceps' pigeonhole and tamper with it, writing Frankie's initials on it. While the girls are spying on the two teachers at the supermarket, the M&Ms push them so that they get discovered. After explaining that the love letter is not from Frankie, as Mr. Biceps had assumed, and telling the teachers what they were trying to do, they all get in trouble. That brings us to the present, where Frankie is sneaking out the window to give Rosie an official invitation to the Sleepover Club, stating,
"Although Ms. Nichols and Mr. Bilton might not be the perfect match, Rosie Cartwright and the Sleepover Club could be."
What a great first episode. It's a great start into the show and manages to establish a sense of the characters, the overall vibe, and what to expect of the show. It's truly iconic. I actually remember way more about this show than I thought when I started writing the script for this video. I love the weird cutaways and the overall feel of this show. It may be my nostalgia, but I do have a weakness for this special brand of coming-of-age stories. Now, I'm only going to be talking about the first 4 episodes of this show because I want you guys to give this a watch if what I was talking about sounded fun to you. Sure, it's not Ibsen, but it's a lot of fun and full of early 2000s nostalgia. Episode 2, Scary Movie, is presented by Linz wearing a vampire costume, and it immediately sets the tone. While Rosie, Kenny, and Frankie are walking home, they talk about how the M&Ms are always playing pranks on Fliss and scaring her. Frankie insists that she just has to toughen up because never being scared is part of the Sleepover Club rules. This is where we first get introduced to the club book and the rules of the Sleepover Club. In my brief stint of also trying to form a Sleepover Club, I crafted a book too, but mine looked a lot less cool. Rosie is skeptical, which ticks Frankie off. This week's sleepover is a special one because it is Lynn's birthday, which also means that it's her twin's birthday too. Michael invites the M&Ms to their house for a sleepover as well, which causes some tension. Unable to decide, their dad throws a coin. The winner gets to celebrate their birthday inside, the loser outside. Lynn's wins the coin toss and gets the house for her birthday. The girls are planning on renting a scary movie for the birthday sleepover, but Fliss seems a little apprehensive. But to be fair, they are 12, so how scary can a movie be that they can rent out all by themselves? Fliss confides her fear of scary movies to Rosie. Meanwhile, Frankie thinks that it's actually Rosie who's scared, so she tells Linz and later Kenny that their secret mission on the sleepover is finding out if Rosie is a scaredy cat or brave. Also, there's a really funny cutaway referencing Survivor, where Frankie visualizes her fear of getting replaced by Rosie. It's absolutely wild. While Fliss and Rosie are preparing for the sleepover, Rosie tells Fliss that her mom passed away, and they share a tender moment. This is one of the many reasons I love this show. You can tell that the characters actually deeply care for each other, even if they are very different from each other. When the girls arrive at Lynn's place, they see the M&Ms dressed in wetsuits and try to find out what they are up to. While the others spy on the boys and see them playing with water guns, Rosie meets Lynn's older brother Tom, who she immediately crushes on. To be fair, he was playing the guitar, and any guy who can play music is hot as fuck. When they get back to Lynn's room, Rosie is shown one of the Sleepover Club's traditions. The person whose birthday it is has to wear a bunny suit.
I am the birthday bunny, 12 years old today. I twitch my nose and wiggle my ears and wave my paws and say, oh, I'm too old for this. That was unexpected.
Of course, the M&Ms use this to prank the girls, which they actually don't seem too angry about, and then it's finally time for the scary movie. After a few minutes of watching, everyone except Rosie leaves the room and listens at the door, waiting to hear if Rosie would get scared by the movie and run after them. When that doesn't happen, they come back inside. Rosie clearly seeing through them and just kind of going with it. While everyone watches the movie, Fliss pulls a sleeping mask over her eyes. I vividly remember this visual from when I watched the show as a kid, and it actually made me laugh out loud when I saw it again. This finally causes Frankie to catch on that it is Fliss who is scared, not Rosie. Meanwhile, the boys are planning to prank the girls by climbing up the window of Lynn's room and scaring them with a mask. But karma is a bitch, so Marco almost falls from the ladder and shoves Michael and Matthew into a pile of fertilizer. The episode ends with Frankie talking to Rosie and finally accepting her as an official member of the Sleepover Club by handing her a membership card, which I also crafted when I tried to form my own club. At the very end of the episode, we see Linz and Michael talking about their birthdays, and we see a softer side of Michael that makes him seem a lot less one-dimensional.
And I'm going to develop 100 copies of the photo of you dressed as a bunny and hand them out at school.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, you're right, I would.
Anyway, I've had a great birthday.
I've had better.
At least we both survived, and none of our friends killed each other. Surely that's a result.
Yeah, I guess.
Beach Hut, episode 3 of the show, is presented by Frankie. Everyone in year 7 has to sit at an assigned spot at school for lunch, but Frankie creates a petition for them to be able to roam around freely like the older students. She tries to convince Rosie, who just joined the newspaper club, to put the petition in the school's newspaper, but Rosie isn't interested. After school, the girls go to their favorite hangout, the Beach Hut Cafe. The owner, Mr. Stephanopoulos? They call him Mr. S. And I will be doing the same thing, because I'm sure my pronunciation is an insult to the whole of Greece. Mr. S talks to Frankie and tells her that he thinks about retiring. Frankie is flabbergasted and clearly doesn't want him to retire. Thinking back to the petition she started, she is sure she can also become active and stop Mr. S from retiring. Rosie has the idea of writing an article about the Beach Hut to help advertise the cafe and help Mr. S realize that he is appreciated by the community. They also paint posters, wear sandwich boards, and print and hand out flyers. And of course, the M&Ms get involved and see it as a competition to upstage the girls. Unbeknownst to them, they print out their own flyers, saying buy one, get one free. When the girls go to check on Mr. S, he's very upset, thinking they are behind it. This only cements his decision to retire, since this is losing him a lot of money. Throughout the episode, Tom, Lynn's older brother, is seen fighting with his bandmates because they don't have any gigs, until they ultimately split up. While comforting Tom about that, Rosie gets the idea for the band to play at the Beach Hut, to kill two birds with one stone. The band has a gig so it can gain a fan base, and in turn, they help get more publicity to Mr. S. In order to save the Beach Hut, the SOC girls team up with the M&Ms to get everything ready for the gig, building a stage and preparing the tech for the upcoming concert. Last minute, Tom gets cold feet, so Rosie has to give him a pep talk to make him go on stage. When I was a kid, the storyline between Rose and Tom seemed so romantic, so cute, and I wanted a boyfriend just like him, but looking at it now, it's kinda awkward. Rose is 12 and Tom is like 17 or something. Yikes. The gig ends up being a huge success and it convinces Mr. S to open the Beach Hut up again. The song they play is actually really catchy. I'm also a sucker for early 2000s pop rock. The episode ends with Frankie explaining that her petition for the Year 7 students didn't change much. They still have to eat lunch at the tables, but they moved the tables from their original place on the concrete to a grassy field with nicer surroundings. And now I have the song stuck in my head.
Don't ask me questions. Don't ask me for answers. Don't ask for reasons for what's in my mind.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Go ask a movie star. Go ask a movie star. Go ask a movie.
Sorry. Episode 4, Fialotto, is one of the episodes that I still vividly remembered, even before rewatching the show. I'm sure a big part of it is because of the way it was localized in Germany, but I will come back to that later. The episode is getting narrated by Linz again, who is in her garage cleaning. She then starts explaining what got her to this point, stating that it was fear that started it all. In school, a classmate of theirs was scared by a mouse. This inspires Rosie, and she gets the idea for a sleepover challenge. She wants the girls to confront their fears by playing the titular Fear Lotto. They each type up their fear on Rosie's laptop and print it out. Then they put them into a container so no one knows whose fear it is. One by one, the girls each pull one fear out of the container. The last fear they pull out is the one that has to be confronted. I fear heights, I fear blood, I fear sharks, I fear public humiliation, same girl, and I fear bats, which Linz owns up to, explaining how she got her fear. And this is where the German localization comes in. When the girls draw the pieces of paper, they all have a little cutaway where they speculate what fears belongs to whom, having a little flashback of sorts. One of these flashbacks shows a misunderstanding. When the piece of paper said bats, it means the animal and not the equipment. But when Kenny draws the fear, she misunderstands. So her cutaway shows Rosie throwing away a cricket bat because she saw a snake, but Kenny didn't see that. This mistake makes sense in English, but not in German. So in the German dub, they use the word bat instead of Fledermaus, which sounds so weird. And then they try to explain the confusion by adding dialogue that is not originally there. I also remember this so vividly because at that point in time, I didn't know English very well and I was so confused what they were talking about. When Linz was little, she went on a canoe trip on the canal and she got swarmed by bats. So, to confront her fear, the girls travel back to the canal where Linz first got it. The M&Ms, seeking revenge on the girls, who earlier in the episode damaged their toy boat, put a shark fin on the boat and sent it across the canal to scare the girls. Seeing what they believe to be a shark, Linz and Rosie both fall in the water. Frankie and Fliss get Linz back into the boat and discover that Rosie, whom completely freezes in fear, is the one afraid of sharks. Frankie throws Kenny a rope to pull Rosie to the shore, but it gets tangled in a tree. This is where it gets revealed that Kenny is the one who's scared of heights, but she overcomes her fear and climbs the tree to untangle the rope. Kenny throws the rope to Rosie in the water, who forces herself to grab the rope. The girls reach the shore and exit the boat. While getting off the boat, Lynn sees the bats and realizes they aren't as scary as she thought. They don't immediately swoop down on her and attack her. She finds that they are actually quite cute. Frankie is the last one on the boat. Seeing that the shark is getting closer and closer, Kenny offers her her hand, which is bleeding. And Kenny, Fliss, Rosie and Linz discover that it is Frankie who has the fear of blood. Once again, after a moment of hesitation, Frankie overcomes it and takes Kenny's hand. The Sleepover Club then discovers that the shark is not real, but just another prank from the M&Ms. Later, at the Beach Hut Cafe, Linz explains that she has planted revenge in the garage, so that when the M&Ms enter it, they will get covered in paint. While at the Beach Hut Cafe, Fliss sees her crush Ryan Scott and accidentally gets her smoothie spilled over her hair, being the last of the girls to confront her fear, which is public humiliation. The episode ends with Linz cleaning the paint up off the floor of the garage, as she was at the start. In the end, the Sleepover Club members all confronted their fears, together, as friends, which made it a lot less hard to do so. I already filmed an outro, but I wasn't really happy with it because although the video was scripted, it did sound too scripted, if that makes sense. So now I'm redoing it with a bit less of an early 2000s, I'm about to have a sleepover look, and more of an, ooh, I'm an e-girl look, which, let's be honest, is my natural state of being. The Sleepover Club defined my childhood in a big way. I could go on about how it's clearly dated, very much early 2000s, like cliched gender roles, obviously very heteronormative. Every girl only has like a boy crush. But to be fair, what can you expect in the early 2000s? I'm not excusing it per se, I'm just saying that. What I'm trying to say is that this video was supposed to be more of a fluff piece, not a very serious analysis or a critique. I'm kind of trying to ease myself into video essays, which this video is not very long, and it took so long to edit and to write the script, and I knew it was a lot of work to do video essays, but like my respect has skyrocketed so much. Like people who do like 1 hour, 2 hour, even like I recently watched a video that was like 10 hours long. 10 hours. I mean, I have started it, I haven't finished it yet, but like the dedication. My hair looked cute in the beginning, but it doesn't anymore, so whatever. I'm still cute enough. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I realized it's not only a lot of work in terms of time invested or how much skill you have to have for everything to flow into each other seamlessly. I'm also saying it takes like a lot of skill to actually write good video essays, like the points you make, the arguments you make. That's why I was trying to do a not very analytical retrospective of the Sleepover Club, but more of like a emotional and nostalgic one, because this show meant a lot to me as a child. I was bullied in school like pretty badly. Like I said, I didn't really have many friends, and the friends I had, we were never close. So it felt nice to escape kind of into this world where everything was a little bit more simple. There were just like rivalries between boys and girls, and if there were more serious problems, you could always count on your friends, and I don't know. It felt nice. And again, I could talk about how Fliss was often the punching bag and the butt of the jokes because she was very feminine presenting and was also very into very feminine things, and that it kind of fuels, like I mentioned earlier, this internalized misogyny where you're like, oh my god, girly girls are all stupid, they're all bimbos, you know, that kind of stuff. Although by those standards, I'm like a very girly girl and bimbo too, because I love doing makeup, and I don't think that should be mocked. I don't think it should be mocked if you're into fashion or makeup, no matter what gender you are, but I don't think it should be bad to be into very stereotypical feminine things. Just saying. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to ease myself into it and just have a good time. And I hope you had a good time too, watching me. I know it's still a little bit rough around the edges. I'm trying to get the hang of things, especially like how things flow into each other. It's kind of hard to write good segues. I'm not good at that yet. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. I would very much love to hear thoughts in the comments. Do you know the Sleepover Club? Have you ever watched it? If yes, did you like it? Do you have any episodes that you especially remember or like? I would very much like to hear about that. And I would also appreciate it if you subscribed to my channel. But yeah, hopefully I'll see you in my next video, wherever you are. I hope you'll have a fantastic day. Bye.